Hello everyone, and welcome back to History of the Ancient World. Today, we're journeying back in time over 6,000 years ago to a land nestled between two great rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. This region, known as Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers, was the cradle of what many historians consider the world's very first civilization, the Sumerians. Imagine a sun-drenched landscape, where fertile soil, deposited by the annual floods of the rivers, created an oasis in an otherwise arid region. It was here, in this crescent of life, that a remarkable people decided to settle down. Before the Sumerians, humans were mostly nomadic, moving from place to place, but the Sumerians saw the potential of this land. They were pioneers, innovators who fundamentally changed the course of human history. So how did they do it? It all started with agriculture. The Sumerians weren't just planting seeds. They were engineering their environment. They developed sophisticated irrigation systems, digging canals and building dikes to control the unpredictable river waters. This wasn't just about survival, it was about creating abundance. For the first time, people could produce a surplus of food. This surplus was a game changer. It meant not everyone had to be a farmer. People could specialize in other crafts and trades, leading to a complex and dynamic society. As communities grew, they evolved into the world's first cities. Names that echo through history, like Uruk, Ur, and Eridu, were bustling metropolises, complete with monumental architecture and defensive walls. At the heart of each city stood a massive stepped pyramid called a ziggurat. These weren't just impressive buildings. They were the religious and administrative centers of the city. The Sumerians believed their gods lived in the skies, and the ziggurats were built to bridge the gap between the earthly and the divine. Priests who held immense power would perform rituals on the top terraces, making offerings to deities like Anu, the god of the sky, and Inanna, the goddess of love and war. This new urban life demanded a new level of organization. How do you keep track of grain stores, trade deals, and tax records? The Sumerians came up with a brilliant solution: writing. Around 3500 BC, they developed a system of wedge-shaped marks pressed into wet clay tablets. We call it cuneiform, and it is one of the earliest known forms of writing. Initially, it was used for bookkeeping, simple pictographs representing goods, but it quickly evolved into a sophisticated script capable of recording laws, literature, and even personal letters. For the first time, human knowledge could be passed down through generations, not just by word of mouth, but in a permanent physical form. The invention of writing was an explosion of progress, separating prehistory from history. With writing came literature. The Sumerians gave us the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the world's oldest surviving works of literature. It's a powerful story of a king's quest for immortality, exploring timeless themes of friendship, loss, and the human condition. It shows us that even thousands of years ago, people grappled with the same fundamental questions we do today. The Sumerians were also incredible innovators in science and technology. They looked to the stars, charting constellations and developing a lunar calendar to track time and seasons, which was crucial for their agricultural cycles. Their mathematical system, based on the number 60, has left a lasting legacy. Why do we have 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, and 360 degrees in a circle? You can thank the Sumerians for that. They also invented the wheel, but probably not for transportation at first. Early evidence suggests it was used as a potter's wheel, revolutionizing the production of ceramics. Later, they adapted it for chariots, transforming warfare and trade. They were masters of metallurgy, mixing copper and tin to create bronze, a stronger and more durable metal that gave its name to an entire era, the Bronze Age. Sumerian society was highly structured. At the top was the king, who was seen as the god's representative on earth. Below him were the priests and scribes, the educated elite. Then came the merchants, artisans, and farmers, who formed the backbone of the economy. At the bottom were the enslaved people, often prisoners of war or individuals who had fallen into debt. Law was also formalized. While the famous Code of Hammurabi came later, it was built upon Sumerian legal principles. The Code of Ur-Nammu, one of the oldest surviving law codes, reveals a society concerned with justice, outlining fines for various offenses and aiming to protect the weak from the powerful. Life for the average Sumerian was tied to the land and the gods. They worked hard, but they also enjoyed music, feasting, and games. They brewed beer, which was a dietary staple, safer to drink than the river water. They created beautiful art, from intricate cylinder seals used to sign documents to stunning jewelry made of gold and lapis lazuli. So if the Sumerians were so advanced, where did they go? Their history is one of constant conflict. The city-states were frequently at war with one another, vying for land, water, and power. This internal division made them vulnerable to outside invaders. Around 2334 BC, Sargon of Akkad, a Semitic-speaking ruler from the north, conquered the Sumerian city-states and created the world's first empire, the Akkadian Empire. Although Sumerian culture was largely absorbed and continued to influence the region, Sumerian as a spoken language began to fade, eventually becoming a classical language used only by scribes, much like Latin in the Middle Ages. Over the centuries, waves of different peoples, the Babylonians, the Assyrians, would rule Mesopotamia. But the foundation laid by the Sumerians endured. Their inventions, their ideas, and their way of life echoed through these later civilizations, and in many ways, all the way to our modern world. From the minutes on our clocks to the stories we tell, the legacy of this ancient civilization is all around us. The Sumerians were the original pioneers, the people who took the bold leap from scattered nomadic life to organized urban society. They gave us the city, the wheel, writing, and the very concept of history itself. They looked at a challenging environment and through sheer ingenuity and determination built a world of astonishing complexity and creativity. Their story is a powerful reminder that the seeds of our present were sown in the distant past on the fertile plains between two rivers. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back to ancient Sumer. What part of their civilization do you find most fascinating? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to History of the Ancient World for more explorations of our incredible past. We'll see you in the next one.